Alrighty, guys, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Paid in Passion, where we let our passions work for us. I know you guys seen this fit in the last video, and no, I'm not dirty. I just get to the grind. So, second interview in the same day. All right, so today I'm with another great friend of mine, Jeffrey. Could you introduce yourself for us?
Yeah, man. My name is Jeffrey Hendricks. I'm a first year lawyer, attorney at Nelson Mullins.
Nice. Could you share with us how you got into, just being a lawyer? Was it like a dream that you always had? Was it something that you just found out that, based off your gifts, acknowledging your gifts, I guess in a later phase of life, it was best for you to be a lawyer, or kind of what your story looks like?
Yeah. So I definitely wouldn't say like I grew up wanting to be a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
For me, more so with the dreams I had growing up, being a lawyer just felt like the next step in accomplishing my dreams. Since maybe about high school, I wanted to be a sports agent. Um, you know, another kid wanted to be an athlete growing up, realizing, that's probably not the most feasible dream. And so I just started thinking about ways I could stay around the sports industry. Uh, and so I stumbled upon being a sports agent. It was something that caught interest in me, probably maybe like late middle school, early high school. And just looking at sports agents, diving into like what they do, what are their, typical journeys. A lot of them go to law school. And so for me, wanting to be a lawyer started out as just being, taking that step into ultimately like becoming a sports agent. It wasn't until I actually, started applying, got into law school, and really actually just doing law school that I realized, you know, how how grateful I am and how blessed I was to be in a position to be in law school and just realizing that everything that can come with being a lawyer by itself,
Right.
Sports agent aside, like being a lawyer can definitely be like an end goal profession. And so just taking the time in law school, figuring out what that looked like, has been my journey as of late, really.
Okay. So are you still looking to go into that sport agency field?
Oh yes, yeah, no,
Okay.
that's still the dream.
Okay.
It's just the long term dream. It's not an easy path,
Mm-hmm.
but a path I'm more than committed to.
Okay.
I've been committed to for years at this point.
Okay. So what have you been doing to prepare yourself also for that end goal? Of course, going to law school is something that you notice that a lot of sports agents had in their bag. They went to law school, they had some experience with law, but what other tools, I guess, or experiences have you tapped in with to still get to know the sport in that lens?
Yeah, definitely in undergrad, I took advantage of as many sports opportunities as I could. Um, my I was most involved with the football team, and so working in recruiting, Georgia football recruiting gave me a lot of experience. I was there from like my junior year all the way through law school, so five and a half years. And so that was a great experience for me. I was there so long, I was able to see so many different aspects of recruiting, and just like a sports organization in general, from like actually hosting, talking to families, to like operations, just planning, event planning, basically
Right.
logistics. And then towards the tail end, started doing film eval and watching players and see what scouts kind of look into. All skills that agents have. All I felt like working in recruiting was like the best mirror, the best experience I could gain that would give me, as close to a snapshot of what being an agent would be like. So I definitely took advantage of that opportunity. And then just other sports opportunities like orgs. I was in like the sports org on campus, and like I did like game day interning with the Falcons, like outside trying to sell season tickets. So really just anything I can get my hands on, I was doing it.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah.
What did you end up majoring in undergrad?
Consumer economics.
Okay. What is really consumer economics? I'm trying to think about it, but
That's a good
I'm
question.
I'm science, so
Yeah. So is basic econs, learning about like market trends and all that type of stuff. But the consumer part was just about like everyday life.
mhm,
So it was basically a lot of economic. Well, you may not know because you're a science guy, but a lot of economics classes are kind of like on a macro level. They teach you about
mhm,
like the entire U.S. economy or
right,
stuff like that. So
mhm,
consumer economics is on a personal level, so
okay,
individuals, like housing, like residential housing markets,
mhm,
financial planning. You
mhm,
as an individual, how much of your check should you be spending on rent? How
mhm,
much should be going to debt? How much should be going? Things like that. Way more practical to
mhm,
me than regular economics.
mhm,
Regular economics is very theoretical.
mhm,
This was very practical.
okay,
I'm mad that I found it so late. I initially tried to get into Terry, and that didn't work out. But being a
yeah.
consumer economics
It
major was
sounds
definitely
like
worth it.
it sounds like it matches sports agency pretty well. Like everything that you learn on a personal level is something that you'll need to do or help or assist your agent with, especially when it comes to finances
Yeah.
and how much money you should be saving, although you're making this much money and so forth.
No, for sure. Yeah, no, it's definitely beneficial in that way. Even just to me, right, my everyday life, I take a
Yeah,
lot of those things. I think it's helped me
yeah.
so far.
Okay, that sounds cool. That sounds cool. Okay. So when you decided to just, well, okay, you already knew law school was the next step for you. Can you talk to us about some of those challenges that you might have had during law school, especially when it came to knowing that your end goal wasn't just to be a lawyer? So, I mean, I believe that there are other routes to still be a sports agent.
Yeah.
So, just like those challenges and I guess those doubts to see if you should still go to law school with this route of being not necessarily a lawyer.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's a lot of battles. Just law school itself is a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot for people who just want to be lawyers at the end. In
Yeah.
general, being going to law school is a lot. It's a big time commitment. It's a big energy commitment.
Hmm.
Um, and so that was a battle in itself. Just adjusting to law school is completely different than undergrad. Just so like the daily classes and the amount of work and effort it takes on a daily basis
Hmm.
to be successful in law school. And then it also doesn't help that law school is kind of tailored. Like law school itself is kind of geared towards certain types of lawyers, if
Hmm.
that makes sense.
Okay.
So law school is very litigation focused. So litigation is like your courtroom, like
Hmm.
prosecutor, defender. It's focused on that. It's not focused on much outside of that.
Right.
And so for me, who I don't want to go to a courtroom
Yeah.
ever. So that's hard. That was hard for me, hard adjustment. And so for me, it took a lot of extra time to make sure I was doing things that I personally wanted to do and that
Right.
were intentionally going to set me up for success.
Right.
So when it got time for me to take electives or time for me to try to get some intern or practical experience, I
Hmm.
had to make sure I was doing those things that I felt would be, you know, that would help me in
Right.
my future career.
Okay. Um. Okay. How did were you the only person in your cohort that had like a different end goal in a way? And when I say different, just non-courtroom.
Not that typical litigation.
Hmm.
No, there are people who go to law school for a bunch of different reasons.
Hmm.
Like I said, you got people who want to do litigation, people who do what I actually do day to day now, like transactional corporate work. Um, you have people who want to do politics
Hmm.
or who want to sell
Okay.
real estate. Um, they want to do like trademark and intellectual property.
Hmm.
It's a bunch of different people who want to do a bunch of different things, and they're all trying to find their way as well.
Hmm.
Um, but it's just not the resources aren't as available if you don't want to go that
Hmm.
litigation route, and it really takes just extra effort on your part to kind of seek it out.
Right.
But you grow. I grew close to a lot of people who wanted to do different things, or people who
Hmm.
wanted to work in the sports industry, even though they didn't want to be agents. They wanted
Right.
to do things adjacent to the sports industry.
Okay.
And so that was helpful, just finding those type of people with kind of similar end goals.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why sports? I know a lot of people have sports. We love sports. We have our chats and all the things that we really talk about, and we can go through sports literally year round.
Yeah.
But to make it something that your career focused on, what about the sport made it be? What about the sport made it something that you wanted to really? I don't want to necessarily say revolve your life around, but really focus on, and who are you aiming to really help in this industry, or what are you seeking to do?
Yeah, I talk about my interest in sports. I don't know. I feel like that's a question I kind of ask myself all the time. Like, why did I like for so like at this point it's just something
Hmm.
I'm just tunnel visioned on. But just thinking of how that developed, and I think my best answer to that is just growing up. Sports were so pivotal in my life. I feel
Hmm.
like people, everybody you met at UGA is very smart, and law school especially really smart. So I kind of fit in that. Like growing up, school was came
Yeah.
naturally to me, and getting A's and all that stuff. But sports, growing up for me, were was the time where I struggled.
Hmm.
Those are the times where I had internal,
Hmm.
battles. I had to have mental fortitude, to stick with something,
Hmm.
not getting playing time, all that. So I feel like a lot of my trials and tribulations
Okay.
growing up came through sports, and
Hmm.
I think that's why
Hmm.
I gravitated towards so much, because I'm someone who I'm very tunnel vision. When I get a goal, I work
Hmm.
at it, and so to be in that sports space and to say I want to do something and it doesn't happen right away, I think that kind of drew me in.
Okay.
Just having something that I'm like constantly reaching for.
Hmm.
Um,
You like
so
the
yeah,
challenge.
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah, you
I
like the
think that's
challenge.
how it
That's what it sounds
developed,
like.
honestly.
Okay.
And at this point, I just feel like being a sports agent, not kind of similar to that, but I just feel like being a sports agent would put me in a place where I can be like just a resource
Hmm.
to people, um, especially people in that position. When you think of athletes, you think of millionaires, and they have anything they can dream
Right.
of, and all of this. But they're still people too, and they still have troubles managing their daily lives. They have a lot of people around them who would love to take advantage of them,
Hmm.
and so I think I would get a lot of personal fulfillment and satisfaction from just being in a position where I can help, people in
Hmm.
those spaces.
Okay.
Really.
Have you always been this type of person who? Because I'm trying to. Another thing that I like to do with these videos is to introduce different careers and aspirations based off of their own characteristics. So right now, it seems like a sports agent is someone who likes responsibility and helping, and I guess like it's a form of leadership. You have to be this type of person, and you're not leading this athlete's life, but you're basically guiding and like I was saying before, assisting. So
Yeah.
have you always kind of been like this type of person with these characteristics of being helpful and you know leading?
Um, I would like to think so.
Hmm.
Um, but no, I definitely. I mean, that's just something like my mom always taught. Well, both my parents always taught me, and just being in spaces I was in, like in school and stuff. They would always say, like, as you're climbing, like, grab the person behind you and lift them up too.
Hmm.
And so I think that is something that's really been instilled in me. Um, and that's part why I feel like my vocation in life is just to like help people,
Hmm.
in any way I can. I always say, like, sports agent aside, my life goal is to be that person that you can call and
Hmm.
ask for just about anything.
Hmm.
Like, oh, you need a job, let me refer you to this person.
Right.
Like, I don't have to be that person who can give you the job and all of
Hmm.
that stuff, but I've always wanted to be that person with so much access
Right.
to different things that I can help people around me. Um, and I've been like that definitely since college, for
Hmm.
sure. I've always tried to be
Hmm.
that person. That's what I strive to be. Um, So yeah, I think
Okay.
those qualities are in a good sports agent,
Hmm.
and those are qualities that I see in myself, and that I see, of me becoming myself, but also skills and things I would like to continue to develop as well.
Okay. Did you have any other like career aspirations outside of sports or being a sports agent or going to law school, like any other field?
Any other field?
Hmm.
Um, Not really.
Yeah.
I was that kid that never really had like a passion for any like
Hmm.
academics wise.
Yeah.
Like academics wise, like I was good at math, but like
Yeah.
engineer, all this
Yeah.
math and science, that was nothing I ever wanted to do.
Hmm.
Um, so I never gravitated to anything like
Hmm.
that. Really, sports were really like the only thing
Yeah.
that just kept my attention
Hmm.
nonstop. Um, so I've definitely been all in on that. But definitely being a lawyer now, like I said, I'm in a space now where I'm not a sports agent. I'm a lawyer, and I'm embracing, the time of being an actual lawyer and doing that day in and day out. And so I would say I'm developing a passion for being a lawyer and just
Hmm.
all the things that come with being barred and having a JD
Hmm.
can do for you for
Okay.
sure.
Tell us about that life. How's it being a lawyer or a full time lawyer for real?
It's different. Um, I wish I could compare it to another profession, but I went straight to law school, so I don't have another profession to compare it to. But it's different. I like it. It's definitely it's really I don't know. It allows me to be a problem solver.
Hmm.
I think that's what lawyers are.
Hmm.
Um, they aren't people who just like to argue or people who stereotypical things about
Hmm.
lawyers. I think what a lawyer is a problem solver,
Right.
and it's just when you go into work that day, what problem are you solving that day?
Hmm.
And so that's what law school also teaches you. It teaches you how to go about solving problems. It teaches like kind of the mental thought process you should go about like asking questions and like
Right.
the line of questioning you should have towards something, the analysis you develop once you get those questions. And so I really do that day in and day out. I currently work in a division called mergers and acquisitions. So that's basically when companies buy other companies. Uh, you hear it in the media, like like HBO Max gets bought out by Warner Media,
Right.
or I like quality control just sold P and Coach just sold QC to somebody
Right.
else. Stuff like that. That's literally a merger and acquisition. Um, so that's what I do. And again, it's problem solving because no deal is the same.
Hmm.
They all come with their different challenges because they're different sellers and they're different
Right.
companies, and just different things come with it. So every day we go in and something else develops about the deal that we have to try to figure out how can we still make this work.
Right.
Um, and so I like that part. I genuinely I like it more than I thought I would, honestly. And yeah, I'm excited to continue to develop
Okay.
in that space.
Okay. That sounds good. Okay. Uh, how what was the feeling like? Because of course, I think a lot of black students can relate to being a minority in the classroom, as far as we're one of the few uh people of color inside of a classroom. But I just know that that pressure was different in law school. So how did that affect you, or how? I mean, obviously you passed everything that you had to do. So how did that also improve your
Mhm.
will to achieve being probably in a very small minority?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest like takeaways I got from law school was to just be unapologetically myself.
Hmm.
Um, I think law school is a space where you meet a lot of different people and you meet a lot of people who are strongly opinionated
Right.
and they're very vocal about those opinions. Um, and especially in today's political climate, social climate, um, those opinions and viewpoints are very apparent.
Hmm.
And that can be very, I won't say intimidating, but it can feel uncomfortable,
Yeah.
especially when you're not in the majority in
Mm-hmm.
those viewpoints or those things like that.
Right.
I'm not saying that's everybody at UGA, but there are people like that everywhere.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of law school for me, in addition to like just class being hard and all of that, is knowing who I was, knowing the type of things I believed in, knowing my personal beliefs, knowing the way I was raised, and really standing on that and not trying to just like conform to the people around me.
Right.
So in that space, also, like I said, wanting to do sports and not want to do litigation or like courtroom stuff or any of that. I had to be unapologetically myself in that and just saying, yeah, this is what I want to do. I'm not going this traditional law school path. And so, it's just really taught me about just prioritizing like my energy into what I really want to see out of, myself and what I'm doing.
Right.
So that was the biggest part. Uh, Definitely what helped is finding people also like that. So for any, minority student that's also in that position and they know how uncomfortable it can feel to be in that space, you just have to gravitate towards like-minded people. That'll really help. Law school specifically is just too hard to do by yourself.
Right.
It's too hard academically. It's too hard emotionally and socially to do by yourself. So the quicker you find people that you trust with your emotions and your space, I think the more successful you'll be.
Okay.
Because you'll start to build a confidence about you. Even if you're already a confident person, you'll build even greater confidence for yourself and your career path, your life path.
Okay. So for mine, I guess I don't really understand the structure of law school. Does everyone just take the same classes, like based on your year?
So law school is 3 years. Your first year, at least I'm speaking UGA specifically, but I'm pretty sure it's the same throughout. Your first year, everyone takes the same classes.
Okay.
So our first semester, we were split. Our class made about 180 students. It was split into 3. We call them sections. And so your section was maybe about 60 to 70 people. You took your exact schedule with those same 60 to 70 people that whole first year. So the whole first semester, everything's the same. The second semester, we got at UGA, we get one elective our second semester. So that's the one time you can maybe cross over and meet other people. But outside of that one class, second semester, everything else you're taking with the same 60 people.
Okay.
And then after that year, 2L, 3L year, you can take, whatever you want. There's some curriculum requirements that you have to meet, but they're very minimal. So you basically take whatever you want out of that. So yeah.
Okay. Do they somewhere you're 2L, 3L? Is it like based? Well, I guess I can assume that it's based off of what you aspire to be after law school. But do they give you like a plan? Like if you want to go into this, then these are the classes that we recommend you take, or is it really you just take whatever?
Yeah, no, it's not like there's no recommendations at all. It's literally you just take whatever.
Yeah.
What a lot of people do, what I did for a little bit, a lot of people focus on like bar classes. So, like you take the bar exam after you graduate law school. And the bar exam every year is on these same subjects. And so a lot of people in law school will make sure they take as many of those subjects as possible. So when it comes time to study for the bar, they're not learning brand new classes from scratch. You're just like relearning a lot of stuff. So you do that. You take up some of those just because it'd be good for you. But outside of that, yeah, it's really a free for all. I'm trying to think any specific classes. Like for instance, my second year, I took sports law because I wanted to. I took trademark law, sports law, trademark law. I think that's all I can think of. And then, like my third year, I took real estate transactions because I potentially want to go into real estate one day. And I took entertainment law, which is like movies and film and that type of stuff. So that was interesting to me. I took something else, but stuff like that. So you can mix that stuff in with like standard classes.
Okay.
To kind of
That makes
fill
sense.
out your schedule and do what you want. Oh, I took like a solo practice. So if anyone who ever wants to start their own practice one day, it kind of laid the foundation. Like these type of things you should think about, like finances and like finding a target clientele and that type of stuff. So
Okay.
yeah, it's definitely what you make it to a big extent.
Okay. So is law school kind of like in the movies or like in the shows where the professor? I'm being very stereotypical right now, but in the movies or in the shows, what's the show? How to Get Away with Murder. Professor tell you to read 60 pages. You come the next day, call random questions, boom, boom, boom. Come say this in front of the class.
Yeah, no, that's exactly that's exactly how it goes. Definitely more. Well, again, this is UGA. So for the most part, your first year is exactly like that. You go home, you read tons of pages. You come in, they call one person. That one person, and the way his class is called the Socratic method. So the teachers in law school don't give lectures. They teach through like having a conversation with the students. So they'll call on a student, they'll ask them, the basic facts about the case, and then they just start asking them questions about the case and like the takeaways from the case. And through the question and answers is how you develop the lesson of the day.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it's interesting because it can go a couple ways depending on how people respond.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I was saying. In law school, more so is teaching you a way of thinking, like a line of thinking, a line of questioning, more so than like substantive like materials, because cases change all the time. All that stuff is dynamic, so it makes no sense to learn about a case from 100 years ago when that case doesn't apply today. But if you can think about how they thought about that case 100 years ago, how they got to the conclusion they got to, that's something that thought process is something that's used today still. But no, it's definitely like that. Very intimidating, just intimidating as it looks on the shows.
That's crazy.
Where they call you and you just gotta recall from memory stuff. No, it's exactly like
that. That's crazy. MPH is different. We still had our lectures, we had our assignments, we have our discussions.
I wish for sure.
Okay. And that's crazy. I couldn't imagine. So what happens if you just don't? I don't know. I guess you just don't know the answer. Like, is there real repercussions? Like, they think you're not taking it serious, so they're about to.
So the first repercussion is just embarrassment.
Yeah,
it's just embarrassment, and then everybody else around you gets secondhand embarrassment because it's so awkward. But for the most part, as long as you're trying, there's no penalty. It definitely can get to a point if you just don't know the answers. They're gonna like if you're not even like in the ballpark, they're gonna assume you're not putting in effort. So that's a different conversation that I haven't seen before, really. More so an effort thing. But as long as you're trying, they're gonna pull out what they need to pull out. Yeah.
So do they test you guys like on is it more like theoretical stuff? Like you gotta
they literally will give you hypothetical situations and you just have to apply like the different cases from other like throughout the semester and use those other cases to build your case for this hypothetical. Yeah. Very difficult. Very difficult.
So how was bar preparation?
Man.
I always hear about the bar. See, I really don't know too much about this. I've always heard about you always hear about the MCAT.
Yeah.
But I don't really hear about the bar as much. And it seems like the bar is an exam. Well, I'll let you explain what the bar is and then the prep.
Oh yeah, no, the bar is terrible. So the bar exam is the test to actually get your license to practice law in whatever state. It's individualized for every state. There's some states who share some questions and stuff. But basically, the bar is a test to be able to practice in a certain state. So I'm in Georgia. I'm practicing in Georgia. I had to take the Georgia bar. And so basically, the bar is just a combination of all these classes you're supposed to learn in law school. So 3 years of school filed down into 2 days worth of testing, 7 hours both days, six with a 1 hour break both days. You're supposed to recall everything from law school.
You're supposed to.
Yeah, closed book, closed note. you're supposed to be able to recall it all from memory, and answer all of these questions. It was 200 multiple. The first day, no, that was the second day. The first day was like 7 or 8 essays, and then the second day was 200 multiple choice questions. So yeah, definitely a weird concept. Concept I still question because it's so like you go through law school for 3 years and you get a law degree, and now you have to cram all of that into a test 3 months later. 2 months later, it's a lot.
How do you even prepare for this? Like,
so probably the average law student these days pays for like a prep course, which kind of has like these video lectures and all these things because you gotta relearn this stuff.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
Yeah, something that I learned.
I don't remember something from last month.
Right,
granted, like a class I took 3 years ago. So you have these prep classes that reteach you these classes that you took or teach you from scratch if you didn't take the class in law school. And so yeah, like your MCAT prep course or something like that, and it's two plans to be about your study plan is probably about 2 months long. You graduate in May, the test is in July. It's a daily grind.
Yeah,
I had to treat it like school or like work 9 to 5 every day for about 2 months, and it's intense.
Yeah, y'all are troopers. It's
very intense. And it's also on law school like this too. It's what's called a curve. I mean, law school, what curves are, but so basically everybody can't pass.
Yeah.
Only a certain percentage can pass. And so that adds extra pressure because you can't gauge in law school too. This is law school too. You can't gauge where you are because where you are is relative to everybody else. There's no just A. You don't just get 90% of the questions right. You get an A.
Yeah.
You have to get more questions right than
the lowest. Yeah. Okay.
Than the bottom percentage of people. So that makes law school a very competitive environment.
So even if the lowest person passes.
Yeah, so technically if 10 people all got a grade 90 through 100, 90, 91, all the way through 100, the people 90 through 93 probably going to get a C. Those people 94 through 96, 97 are going to get a B, and 97 up are going to get an A. So that adds pressure. That adds a lot of pressure because that causes you to just always stress because you always feel like it's more you can do to like get a leg up because there's no baseline.
Right. So how did you like combat that as far as, you're meeting people in your cohort, you're probably saying some of these people are pretty cool, whatever, you guys are studying together. But at the same time, you guys are each other's competition.
Yeah. That's a big thing.
Actual competition. Like some people say competition, but they just want to compare themselves to that person just because. But this is like my grade depends on you.
Yeah, no, literally. Yeah. I think so first off, anyone that wants to go to law school, that's definitely a question you want to ask if you can get like students who already go there. You want to ask like, what is the environment? Because there's some law schools that have that competitive nature amongst their students. And that can be uncomfortable in itself because you're with people who don't even want to help you for real.
Right.
They want they want to keep everything for themselves. That's there are people like that. And so UGA, thankfully, is not an environment like that. It's a collaborative environment, so everybody just helps each other. But that's one thing you wanna know. But just personally, the best thing you can do is just try to beat yourself from yesterday. You'll go crazy trying to figure out how you measure up to the people around you. The best thing you can do is, I was here yesterday. Today, I gotta be better than that. And as long as you keep doing that, it'll work out in some way or fashion. But yeah, you can't. It's literally no way to gauge how you are compared to everybody else. So don't even. Yeah. If you even take your mind there, you're torturing yourself.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. That's crazy though. That's a very interesting concept.
Yeah, no, it's wild.
Okay. That's crazy. I'm actually thinking about that. Okay. I think I just had a question in my head. I just forgot it. Whoa. What was it? I literally just had it. Yeah. I literally just lost it. I'm trying to. Nope. Okay. It's gone.
Did you ever think about going to law school?
I thought about it,
Yeah.
but I can't study.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and it's, I mean, it's just something that I just have to accept for myself. But I'm not disciplined enough to. I keep on the grind every day.
Mm-hmm.
I had to be to still get my MPH, but there's still some days I can relax.
Yeah.
And just knowing, like, as far as my strength and weaknesses, I had a hard time focusing for long periods of time.
Yeah.
So, like, if you told me to read 100 pages tonight, those 100 pages aren't getting read.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I even had classes, professors were like, yeah, read these 40 pages. And I don't, like, I'm not reading those 40 pages.
Yeah.
And so we had that discussion the next day. And since it was like public health, you can, like, I'm not gonna say you can finesse. You still have to know information, but information can be drawn. You can take information from anything.
Yeah.
So it's just like, yeah, we're having this discussion on health policy or whatever. I'm gonna just bring up some situation of health policy that I just know about.
Yeah.
And so that's as if I read the book when I did it, and now I'm just taking all the information from other people. But I'm not gonna lie, there have been cases where a professor would tell us to read something, and I'm the person who's called. I'm just like,
I ain't got it. Yeah. Yeah.
So I can't even imagine. I guess for that one, especially like getting MP, our classes are smaller. Like we have 20 people in our classes, but I'm sure you guys have like lecture halls.
Yeah.
Or,
the biggest is probably that first year when it's like 60, 70
yeah,
people.
so that's
smaller after that.
Yeah. Okay. So just stuff like that. I still thought about it again. Still, I have become more disciplined, but it's just, do I want to take myself through that? And right now, I don't.
Yeah, no, it's a process. I had to learn how to.
Yeah.
I had to learn how to study and how to be disciplined like that. Because again, we just growing up, that wasn't something that was, that you had to focus too hard on. But law school is definitely a space where you gotta you gotta get it together. You can't, those old ways are not gonna fly.
and so that's why I try to help, because again, I'm a teacher right now.
Yeah.
I try to help with my students as far as they have they have habits that I see and that I know develop into other things. So it's like now, like, they partially procrastinate with work, but procrastination is something that can be small in high school.
Yeah.
But once you get to college or whatever you're trying to do after life, like, that procrastination really stops people from being great for real, because like they don't have the willingness to do something when it matters.
Yeah.
Like, catch up doesn't always work.
Right.
Like, sometimes it is too late to catch up. Like,
no,
rent was due today. Your landlord says you gotta go. You can't next week. Nah, like, you have to go. So I try to help them with those type of things because it is important. And I'm just trying to help them understand that at a younger age, so they don't. Of course, you're always going to make mistakes. You're going to have to reach some form of challenges. But I mean, I'm not going to necessarily say don't make the same mistakes that I did, because there's really no telling how you're doing it. But at least you have some type of intel, and like, don't make the same exact mistake that I did.
Right.
Like, you're going to be going through, and you're like, dang, I already knew not to. I have to study for the bar longer than a month. Like,
No, you definitely got to do that.
I just remember the question. Okay. So the people who finish law school and don't pass the bar exam,
what do they do?
Yeah, like, what happens now? Do they have to keep taking it till they pass it so they can?
Well, that more so depends on what's your career goal. So, like I said, I want to be a sports agent. So being a sports agent is not a bar required job.
Okay.
So technically, me passing the bar has nothing to do with me chasing to be a sports agent. I can still do that.
Okay.
Now, having a bar, you can't not be barred and be somebody's attorney in court.
Yeah.
That can't happen. You can't make filings with the court without having a license. So it kind of depends on your career.
Okay.
If you're in a career that requires it, you got to keep taking it.
Okay. And
then that becomes, a question like your employer or things like that. But yeah, people take the bar more than once for sure.
Okay.
It's very common. So I'm blessed that I only took it once and
Mhm.
passed the first time, but it was, it's definitely a reality.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for like those who want to go into any type of law or even the sports industry, not an athlete?
Any advice?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, kind of what I was talking about, just being intentionally you. Um, Take the time to kind of write down or just put your goals and your dreams out there.
Hmm.
Put it somewhere where you can look at them, you can refer to them, and think about the goal, and then just work backwards and think
Hmm.
about what types of things do you have to do to get there
Right.
eventually. Um, and so once you do that, you can start developing plans. You can
Hmm.
start trying one thing. If it doesn't work, you can pivot and try something else. um, but you want to be intentional and know what your plan is or what direction you want to go into. Some people don't know an exact career they want to go to, but they know a direction they want to go into,
Hmm.
or they know the type of lifestyle they want to live.
Right.
So if you know those things, I think you can start there, work backwards, think, okay, well, what do people who have that lifestyle look like?
Right.
You know,
What did they do?
yeah, I want to
Okay.
be somebody who a lot of people say I don't want to work 9 to 5.
Right.
Okay, you don't want to work 9 to 5. What kind of jobs do people have where they don't work 9 to 5? What kind of things? What are their sources of income?
Right.
How are you going to attain those sources of income without working a 9 to 5?
Right.
Work backwards from there. So just be you. Don't conform to societal kind of structures of how you should do things
Hmm.
or what you should be doing. Um, yeah, just
Okay.
take it personal. Make your journey is your journey. You gotta
Hmm.
make it personal to you. So yeah, do that.
Okay, that sounds great. Okay. Do you have any advice for me with this platform that I have?
Um, really just keep doing it.
Hmm.
I think it's good. Uh, I definitely think it would be good as you continue to talk to different people in
Hmm.
different spaces. You know, I actually was watching some of the other ones on my way here, and I thought they were good. I
Hmm.
thought it's definitely important to see people in those. I think so far a lot of your interviews so far have been like people in like creative spaces,
Hmm.
and I think those are good people to interview just because those paths aren't conventional
Right.
and they don't follow a specific plan.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, just continue to do that. Continue to reach out to people from different avenues of life.
Hmm.
Um, so everybody who doesn't come here and say the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Everyone does have a. Even if I eventually interview another lawyer, they'll
Yeah.
have a totally different perspective
Right.
and journey than you. Shoot, I can interview 10 lawyers and they'll all each have a a
Yeah.
unique journey. So that's the beauty in this. This is what I kind of like about it, and that's also the challenge to myself because I the excuses that I have are very small
Yeah.
to like not keep doing it.
Yeah.
It's like I can never
It's
say
endless.
yeah. There's no one.
Endless questioning.
I can never say I don't have anybody to interview. Like
Yeah.
I can literally just walk into a store and be like,
What do you do?
yeah,
What's your life
yeah,
story? Yeah.
right. And let's chat real quick. So okay, okay. I just have like a few more questions.
Okay.
As far as hobbies, what kind of hobbies do you have now? Especially with you not having to deal with the pressures of law school. Or what are some things that you try to get back into to have fun? Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely still a big sports guy.
Hmm.
Big football. Football is my number one sport.
Hmm.
So this is definitely a down period right now
Yeah.
with the Super Bowl just ending.
And you're losing your fantasy.
This year. But yeah, so football, other sports when football's not on, definitely winning at fantasy sports. Um, get that for the record, winning at fantasy sports. Uh, really, in my spare time, I just at this point, to be honest, I sit down in my free time a lot and I think of like ways I can like expand my skill set
Hmm.
and expand really the ways I make money.
Hmm.
Like I have a job, I have a 9 to 5. Sorry to break it to you guys, but outside of that, I'm constantly thinking of ways I can use this law degree that I spent 3 years
Yeah.
getting, in different ways I can use it, like freelance work or a little side job. So
Hmm.
currently planning that,
Okay.
planning how I want to look, how I want my life to look,
Yeah.
the trajectory I see for myself in the next couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the type of things that keep me motivated, seeing the life I want to live. It's been cool up to this point to say I wanted to be a lawyer, and like I have like documents on like Instagram or tweets and things of me saying I want to be a lawyer, and to be here now is really cool to me. And I'm really thankful and appreciative to have made it this far. But so yeah, I still do that. I still envision the things I want to do now.
Yeah. And
so that's what I do in my free time. I just envision my future and I brainstorm ways. They're not always good ways, but I think about it a lot.
Yeah,
for sure.
It sounds like one of those memes, when it says like he must have just turned 25.
No, for real. No, my mind be racing. But I'm just not trying to stay in the same place, for real.
Yeah, for those who don't get that, once you turn 25, your life, it's time to get it on track, for real. Like, that's when folks start waking up at 5 a.m. to work out. Like, life is serious. Okay. All right, so my last question for you. Say you got a bike, right?
Yeah, I got a bike.
A bicycle.
All right.
Why did it fall down?
Why did the bicycle fall down?
Yeah.
You weren't riding it. You weren't on it.
I mean, not necessarily.
Why does it fall down?
Why does it just fall down? Like it was knocked out, like it fell asleep, like.
Why does the bike fall down?
Yeah. Just knock out. KO. Nights out. Because it was too tired.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, what?
Yeah, these really
stick to the podcast. Yeah. Stick to the podcast.
Alrighty, guys. Thank you for tuning in to Paid in Passion. Let your passion work for you.